me just make sure that we are live. All right, we are live. Welcome to the welcome to the live stream of 032 Conversations. This podcast is sponsored by Bix Recovery Supplement. After a long bicycle ride, that's usually not the end of my day. I'm still a husband, a dad, and I have work to do. So recovery is super important to me. So after a long bicycle ride, I take Bix Recovery Supplement as part of my recovery routine. It was recommended to me by my friend Terrence Go. He's an ultra endurance trail runner, so he knows what he's talking about. So you can order yours at instagram.com/focus recovery ph. Thank you, Bix Recovery Supplement, for sponsoring the podcast. And over the years, 032 Conversations has had over 100 interviews. I think this is 135 or something like that at this point. So I've been pretty blessed to be able to talk to many interesting people. You can check out the interviews in the archives of 032.com. Today, I am talking to my friend, Johnn Mendoza. He is a graduate of BS Biology from Cebu Velez College. Though he finished in BS Biology as a pre-med, he later on ventured into digital marketing as a blogger and a creative strategist for a digital agency. Today, his love for I don't know how to say this by aviculture and ornithology has led to him pushing an advocacy online to bridge the gap between people who are not familiar with the great biodiversity of our country and the beauty of our natural resources. He is now also an advocate of alternative transport to help preserve the environment. Welcome, John. What's up, man?
Hi, Carlo. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. So I just like to tell the audience that I know you because I think I met you before, I'm sure, but I know you so much better because of the mastermind that we both do. No,
Yeah.
do you remember where we met by?
Uh, um, how do I put it? I think before blogging, I know you primarily because of blogging, but before blogging, I'm sure kay you're kabatch akong sister, di ba?
Hmm, I
Well,
think
sila
so.
Jason and sila
Sa med
Jason.
kunari, murag, yeah, in med.
Yeah. So I think, and also our families are kind of familiar with each other. So I think somehow we met somewhere. I don't know, but it was in blogging that I actually got to know you good. But I know your sister.
Monica?
Yeah, through musical
Ah,
plays.
yeah. Well, sige, because me, I know you from, like, I think I'm sure I saw you in some sort of event somewhere, like some Google thing.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. The problem with those things, ba, is you meet so many people at once and you're not really sure, so it's only when you spend time with them that you really get to know them. And I've spent a good, amount of time with you through the
Mastermind.
mastermind. I'm just curious, by I'm actually curious. How are you finding it? Like you've been with the mastermind for what, like a year now?
Actually, to be honest, I find Mastermind very therapeutic.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, just for people who don't know, the mastermind is like a peer. What? How would you describe it, John?
I think it's just a group. I don't know if you can relate it to like an Alcoholics Anonymous, but for businessmen. Well, it's like that. I mean, there's a safe space where like-minded people can share their experiences at the same time, learn from each other.
Yeah. So, so you find it therapeutic.
Yeah, I do because you have like a group of barkada or friends na you're always hang out with, diba? I mean, you connect with those people. And then suddenly there's this circle of people that you don't spend all the time with. And then you get to talk to them and they have the same kind of mindset that you do. And it's just different. It's different with the connection. It's different from the relationship that you have with your parents or family. It's different with your relationship with your close friends. Here are just people na who have just have a professional mindset, and they don't think about, oh, I'm gonna offend you or what. They're just gonna say, oh, I think you should do it this way, or maybe you can look at it this way, and then they share their own experiences. So I always actually look forward to our mastermind sessions.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, even just being able to talk about whatever I have going on, like it just helps. Like ideas literally come to me while I get to talk about it. And then also at the same time, what I also like is I get a lot of feedback from you guys, and then you guys have very different point of views also. So that's really valuable to me with the mastermind. No.
And I like as well that everything's documented. So like it's not like a casual talk lang now we're exchanging ideas and then we're complaining about certain business problems. There's always check and balance because everything's written down. So you can go back to our notes and say, hey, you were saying that this is your goal last two
Oh
months
yeah.
ago. And then did you really achieve that or are you still repeating the same kind of problem over and over again? So that helps me do a check and balance in myself that have I really been progressing as my goals were set a few months back.
But oh no, there's like a sense of like forward motion with it, because if you just show up next week with the same, the month later with the same uh challenges, and then you're not, it doesn't seem like you're really doing anything, then murag, I mean, no one, I don't ever feel judgment, but like you get judgment from yourself nga murag, oh, I'm still tackling the same thing that I
Hmm.
was tackling last week or last month. And then I know that's happened to me also for sure. But at least it's another avenue to push yourself forward and make sure you're actually doing something. No?
Yeah.
Well, I know that I asked you to the interview by, and then so I ask everybody, kanang, what do you want to talk about, no? And
Yeah.
I mean, I knew you wanted to talk about like alternative transport. I was surprised that it seemed like that's the only thing. Well, not the only thing, but like, that was basically the only thing that you
Wanted to
replied.
focus on. I
Yeah.
thought that it would be a topic that we both could connect on because you're a strong advocate on cycling, and I like the idea of alternative transport, especially during this pandemic. No, okay, if you're going to tell me what I want to talk about, of course, I'd always go back to nature and conservation. Pero I wanted something's relatable to people, not on the scientific level.
Hmm. Well, I'll be honest with you, Bay. A lot of the times I enjoy talking to you because I always learn something at that
Weird.
level. Yeah, like, like a lot of stuff that I don't know. And then that's the whole reason for me to like, that's why I keep my ears open, but yeah, just make sure to hang out and learn something. I mean, sometimes it's something that like has no like
Connection.
it's, yeah, like it's like, oh, fun fact, but I mean, to be honest, that's what I enjoy. But like going back to alternative transport, when did you buy Gani your e-scooter? When was that?
Interestingly, not very long. I think I started fourth quarter of last year pa.
Hmm.
I'm still very, very new to this whole alternative transport. And to be honest, I was so skeptical. I was one of those things. It was my elder brother who got me into it, who got me interested in it because he wanted to do it, and the whole family was laughing at him. It's like we're a family that has cars, so we're like we have cars. Why do you need to buy something? And to my dad, it was actually, why do you need to waste your money over a toy when we have cars? And it was late last year, na August last year that my brother was getting into it, and he said, "Wow, the experience is great." And then, from us when we're outside and we're riding our cars, and then we're looking at him riding the scooter, we felt like it was funny. We were like, look at him exposed to the environment, riding on a two wheels, getting from one place to another, and us were riding cars. And then one day, I decided, you know what? I think I need one because the traffic was so bad in Cebu. And this is pre-pandemic. You remember how bad it was. People are already saying, Cebu's becoming like Manila. It takes us 1 hour to get from one place to another. And so I got an e-scooter and I really got to test it out, because I do a lot of errands on the side. And a lot of the things that I do are within 3 kilometer radius. And you know what takes up so much time? Going through the traffic and finding parking. So I got an e-scooter, started riding it mga November, December, especially December. It was great on December because the traffic was so bad, and I was just zooming through, walking through the sidewalks with my scooter, and It was so much faster than getting on the car. And then fast forward today, I now have an e-bike. I decided to shift from e-scooter to e-bike because I wanted the cycling experience. I didn't want to just stand on and ride. I wanted to do something that makes me useful. So
So
e-bike
like
was that option.
you're exerting some effort. Is that it?
Yeah, and then it's a different experience. If you, I probably will make a vlog about e-scooter versus e-bike, but I would say that if you have been riding an e-scooter all your life and then you shift to e-bike, I actually like the e-bike experience more than the e-scooter experience.
Can you talk about that? Like, so as you know, like I commute via bicycle all over
Mm.
Cebu pretty much, and I was always curious about the e-scooter because the design of it is it naturally has smaller wheels, and
Yeah,
I've always wondered about because we don't have the best roads or
roads.
sidewalks
Yeah.
period like diba onya. So there's a I would assume that there's a like if you're using an e-scooter in Cebu, you go from one point A to point B, somewhere there's like a walking section. Is
Mm-hmm.
there is that typical? Like because
What do you mean, like walking
the
section?
wheels are just too small for certain sections.
Well, if you go inside, let's say kanang mga barangays where the roads are so bad, and
Mm.
like when I say bad, I mean like they're like dirt roads na, and your scooter does not have a good suspension system, then you have to just walk it out. But I would say 90% of the roads that I go through when I had an e-scooter, I could really run through it. About 10% siguro, those really bad ones, I get off my scooter and just walk beside my scooter.
So it's not bad at all. Good. Okay, good. Like kanang having the scooter.
No, not at all, not at all. The challenge with the e-scooter, the one that I was riding, is a small one. We call them last milers. They're
Mm.
designed to help commuters finish the last mile. But they're smaller scooters, so they're not designed to, let's say, go up to Busay. They're not designed to go through mga steep hills, no? They're just designed to get you around the city. And me, I'm from Busay, and it just wasn't a viable transport option to commute from work to home. So it was
Mm.
just something that I used to get around. But now that I shifted to an e-bike, it's more powerful and it gets me to the mountains. But here's the thing as well. There are e-scooters that are capable of more powerful transport. They're the larger ones. They cost more, but they take away the one thing that I love a lot about e-scooters, which is portability. That's something that
Okay.
bikes cannot have as well. You can't eat, no matter how foldable your bike is, it will never be as portable as a last miler scooter.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask you. I remember like cycling up, the mountains, and then there are people who will use their e-scooter to go all the way up. I know particularly like up Manipis. I remember seeing a
Ah,
bunch, like
yeah.
a little group of e-scooters going up, and then like they're obviously going quite fast also. Pero di ba I remember you posting before by that you tried actually bringing your e-scooter up Busay.
You remember that? Wow. So yeah, I did. I brought my last miler e-scooter to Busai, and let's just say during the steep portions, about 70% of it was me just using my leg power to get up the
Just
steep
pushing
portion.
up.
Yeah, yeah. I was really like kick scooting na. And I was so tired after that. I was so burnt out and dehydrated, and I said I was never gonna do that again.
Mo ba? So you got an e-bike, and
Now
then
I got an e-bike.
you've been using the e-bike for like a month,
2 weeks pa lang.
2 weeks pa lang.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about the e-bike? Like what model? What
Okay. I'm using a. I don't know if I'm saying this right on pronunciation now because I read it as same bike because it has the word same, SAME, and bike.
Mm,
But some people are saying it's actually Sam e bike. So whatever it is,
okay.
I'm just gonna say same bike. I have the
Okay.
same bike, fat bike, and it was only released in the Philippines for the first time last month.
Okay.
So it's a very new model, and it's basically a correction of everything that was kulang and that was lacking in the previous models. Like the fat tires were necessary to cover as much kind of terrain as possible, and I love the fat tires because you know how bad the roads are in Cebu, no?
Yeah.
And any pothole, even those mga like elevations a gutter, and then you're afraid to get on top of it, I can get on top of it no problem. So it's really helpful on fat tires. The second thing is the motor is more powerful than your standard e-bikes. It's 500-watt motor, and it helps me get to Bukid without any problem at all. The steep hills, although on paper it says 35-degree angle, it can cover a steep hill that's 35 degrees, but what I tested was more than 35 degrees.
35-degree incline? Where
Yeah,
did you find a 35-degree incline?
here and at home, Busay.
Oh, really?
Getting to the subdivision, there's this really steep na more than 35-degree incline.
It's not on the main road.
No, no,
It's
it's
in
in the
the
main road sa
subdivision.
subdivision.
Uh,
Like even
okay.
cars would feel the ungot when it's going up.
Yeah, here in Cebu, Bay, what I realized very quickly is that there's very many steep inclines, no? Like very many. If you go up to like ito where Chateau de Busayas, but that's not 35%. That's probably like closer to 20. 35% is really, really, really steep.
But not 35%, 35 degree.
Yeah, yeah, 35. Oh, is there a difference?
I'm not sure. Is there?
I'm not
Because
sure.
it's like
Usually when
nine.
they
Of course,
say
90 is like 90 degree is you're already vertical, no?
maybe wait, maybe I'm saying it wrong. Maybe it is degree and not percent.
Yeah,
No. Yeah, yeah, but so like kind of 20 degrees there going up to Chateau. 35 is really steep. No. So
it
if you
is.
go
It is
up,
very steep.
but
Yeah,
yeah, once
I
it's
went to
like
Chateau ganina, kahapon actually.
yeah, well, I'll get to that. So, well, how fast can it go?
Um, on paper it says 35 kph, but the fastest that I've gone on it, because I also did pedal assist, about 38 kph.
On the flats?
Yes,
Yeah, because if you're going downhill, you can go
it can
fast,
go much
really fast.
faster.
Yeah, 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 for
But I'm
sure.
scared. I'm very
Yeah.
scared going downhill.
you know, if you're like a new cyclist, then you should be scared. It's the faster you go, and then like if you crash at 5 kilometers per hour, no big deal. You crash
No,
at 10, no big deal. But the faster you go, and if you crash, then the more
the
likely you
greater
are
the
to get like
damage.
yeah by a lot. No,
But you
yep.
can, because actually, I brought that fear with me from e-scooting.
Mm.
So when I did scooter, I had my first semplang. It was so embarrassing because I was riding at 5 kph, very slow, and I still tripped over a crack. And then I said, and the most painful part was not the crash. It was more of the shame of people looking at me.
Why? Where
Everyone
were
looking
you?
at me like I was in there. You know that intersection na Red Planet,
No,
the
where?
hotel. You know the
Ah, near
intersection.
Ayala,
Yeah,
near
that.
Ayala. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
near
yeah, yeah.
Ayala. I fell in that intersection. It was so embarrassing because everyone was looking at me, and e-scooters were still new, and I didn't want to create that kanang image na murag kung mag e-scooter kay accident. It's so sad. But yeah,
Y-
but that was my only accident ever. After that, wala na. But because of that, I also had some fear when it comes to speed. So
Mm.
when I was cycling for the first time, going down from Busay down to the city for work, I really slow down. I go down to mga 15 to 10 kph na going down, making sure na I can still make a full stop when I need to.
Yeah, the so one of the I'm so tempted to ask you so many things about the bike, like is it hydraulic brakes, is it mechanical brakes, so but in a way I'm more curious about. So the thing about the e-bikes, Magud, it's a very interesting niche because so like it seems like to me anyway, your e-bike, it was built to be an e-bike, like kanang it was the idea was e-bike na siya ba. So let's make an
Yeah.
e-bike, and then they put it together, they made an e-bike. And then but if you look at like if you go to the bike shops and then you try to buy an e-bike like a traditional bike shop, they will sell you a bike it looks like it started off as a bike, and then they decided to put a motor on it. So it has all the nice, really expensive bike components and everything, but that you don't necessarily need because there is a motor, no? So it's an interesting niche to me because there are people who like to buy an e-bike, but there's also like there's a group na murag they want to buy an e-bike na that is like a bike, like a regular looking mountain bike, whatever. The motors also tend to be not as powerful. I don't know if you've checked them out. Like my dad
Mm-hmm.
has been looking around, and yeah, the motors tend to be. I don't know
Two
the
fifty watt.
Oh,
Yeah.
but now, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There,
Yeah, they
so
have weaker motors.
weaker
Uh,
motors, but significantly more expensive, also, right?
yeah. I don't know why they're so expensive. Well,
No,
to give you
because
a price idea, you know how much my bike costs?
no.
It's 45,000 pesos.
Oh yeah, there. So Murag, it's if you go to the like a if you the bikes that I'm talking about, that the ones that started off as bikes and then they decided to put uh, a motor on it. That's like 200,000 300,000. It's it's a very
Wow.
different. Yeah, diba? I
Wow,
mean,
that's
I mean, you didn't check the prices when you looked.
no, I haven't seen those kinds of
They're
e-bikes. They're super expensive.
Dude, they're super expensive. But like it's and then if you look at the wattage, the power, anana, it's not nothing compared to like your bike, for example. And yeah, a fraction of the cost. But it's also interesting because like the people who made your bike, their market is not necessarily the typical cyclist na
Cyclists.
market,
Yeah.
'di ba? So that's why it's an interesting niche for me because I don't have a good grasp yet of what it is. Is it like kanang the people who are buying, like you bought it purely as a commuter, 'di ba? And then
Mhm.
but it seems like you are discovering the joys of cycling along the way.
Yeah, honestly, I've always looked at cyclists and thought, I don't think I'll ever do what they're doing because that looks so kapoy. And parang e-bikes are like a gateway device into the world of cycling. And consider the fact na I'm an asthmatic, and I think I have partial lung scarring from my COVID incident because for 1 whole month after my symptoms, I had struggle breathing, I had struggle doing small cardio activities, and even until now, I'm still not 100%, but I can feel that I'm a lot better. But I don't think I can cycle all the way to Busai on a usual bicycle. I don't think I can ever do that. But the e-bike has made that open for me, that made it possible for me to bike going to and from the office. So it's
No,
really a gateway device.
but with your e-bike, when you're cycling up to Busai, you're doing it via pedal assist. You're not throttling it, 'di ba?
No. I do pedal assist, and
So
it's a more fulfilling experience.
you're exerting effort,
But you can
right?
also not exert effort.
Oh yeah, I went with my mom over the weekend. So my dad
Yeah.
bought like a electric motor kit. We put it in this old mountain bike,
Is
and
that the one
then
you posted for sale online?
no. So that's another one.
Okay.
That's another bike pa yun. So my dad first bought that bike. It's a Sondor's fat bike, no,
Mhm.
and it's for sale for 55,000 pesos. Send me a message if you want to buy it. No, and no, but anyway, the that my dad bought that bike, and yung marag nalingaw siya, and then so he bought like a kit, like a motorized kit, and it's like a powerful motor. But again, I'm not familiar kaya with specs, no. But it's
Okay.
powerful. So I went biking with my mom, and yeah, my mom's like really new to cycling.
Cycling.
So
Yeah.
at first, she just wanted to go to Ayala, and yeah,
Okay.
literally 5 minutes after being in Ayala, she's like, "Sa man ni, oy, di man ni exciting." No, na bored siya. So I was like, "Oh, where do you want to go?" She's like, "Oh, let's try going up Busai." So
Oh.
I'm like, "All right, sige, let's go up Busai." Bye. I mean, obviously, I could not keep up with her at all. No. Like she waited for me in Marco Polo the pit. But
Okay.
but she throttled it the whole way, not pedaling, nothing
At
whatsoever. Like
all.
overtook
Okay.
maybe 10 to 20 cyclists, you know. And then like lingaw kayo, like I can just imagine like if you don't know ba, like you're biking, you're huffing and puffing, and then you see my mom like slowly, and
Let's
not
just
slowly, like
go.
very quickly overtaking you as if nothing, like literally not pedaling. I told her she should have pedaled gani para murag.
Just to make them feel more frustrated.
Yeah.
Can I just share something about that? Like what your
Yeah,
mom
man.
did. Although, so I've been like riding back and forth now from office to home on the e-bike. That's exactly what I experienced. You know, the people in the really steep parts, and then they're huffing and puffing, and they're going really slow now because it's really hard to get up. And then I'm on my e-bike, and you know how my e-bike looks? It doesn't look like an e-bike. You can't tell unless
Mm.
you take a really good look at it, because
Well,
it looks like
if
if
you're
you're familiar
familiar
with
with
bikes,
bikes, yeah, like all
you
the
would know.
wires give it away. But like, yeah, if
Yeah.
you just look at it, you don't know.
Yeah, so it doesn't the motor hub is in the gear. It's behind the cog. So
Mm.
it doesn't look like a motor that's sticking out. The
Okay.
battery is inside the frame. So it doesn't look like it has an external battery. Unlike the one that you're selling, it has a battery on the surface. So you can see the battery. Mine is the
Well,
battery
the
is
the
discreetly
one
tucked
that
in.
the one that we're selling secondhand, the Saunders, the
Yeah.
battery is inside the triangle.
Yeah, so it's like securely tucked in, right? So
Yeah, I mean you
that's
can
how it
see the
is with my
battery.
bike. With my bike is you can't see the battery. It's really
Yeah, yeah,
inside
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
frame.
Uh.
So I'm like going, and I'm just pedaling. I'm pedaling, but when I got to the steep part, I discreetly go up I push up the pedal assist, and
Put
then
up the
I'm like
power.
going really fast, and then people are just looking at, why is this guy going so fast? But yeah, it's a funny experience.
Do you feel like you are cheating?
Yes and no, because I'm not hiding the fact that it's an e-bike. In
Oh,
fact,
yeah.
I've added some pretty lights to it. My bike lights up now when I'm riding. So it's cheating if I'm not honest about the fact that it's an e-bike. But I enjoy
Mhm.
it anyway. I mean, why take away someone's happiness?
No, no, okay. The so that's the other thing with this niche. You'll have like people nga kanang who don't like or like anti e-bike. It's this like
That's
weird,
true.
but but it not so much here, man. Pero like in the US ba, okay, like cycling has this weird murag mentality ng murag, oh, you have to suffer to be able to go fast. It's all about pain, like
I've
no pain,
seen
no
that.
gain. 'Di ba?
I've seen that kind of group.
And yeah, and then so when they see somebody going up a hill like no effort. I mean, not no effort, but like significantly less effort. It kind of irks them. But I look at it this way, like anang like I like it because for example, I was able to go cycling with my mom. Like how
That's
often.
what I'm saying. Diba? I mean,
Hmm.
how did your mom feel about it? Someone who did not cycle at all.
Oh yeah, well, lingaw kay siya. Like, lingaw kay siya that she was able to go up to Busan. I was huffing and puffing. Like I was like, I'm so tired. My mom's like, oh, asa mo ka dong? Dugay mo lagi kay ka.
You should take her
Yeah.
on like your long rides going north.
Yeah. Well, it's like a confidence thing at that point. Like also like you have to be the type of person who would enjoy that. Like even if you even like you. So what was your longest ride? Was that the one Compostela? The one I saw you?
Yeah, Compostela with the Buscoteros.
How long was that?
On total trip about 63 kilometers.
63. How many hours was that?
Because we stopped and rested for like several hours, I would say about 2 hours and a half.
2 hours and a half.
Total
No, like
for
moving
the
moving
moving
time.
moving.
Yeah,
About 2 hours, something like that. 2 hours.
2 hours. So
Yeah.
that's still 2 hours for somebody who's not into cycling, but that's still like just sitting here for 2 hours. Murag,
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying? Like if you have to learn to enjoy it. To me, that's not a problem. In fact, I wish I would have 2 hours every day just to cycle, no. But like to somebody like my mom or my dad, they'll I was like, oh, ask where are you going? How long is that gonna take? Then in their head, like, oh, that's 2 hours
Two
on the road,
hours.
huh? you know, so they're not like super into it, ba, no. But yeah, so it but like even like when you but like you did it, yeah, how did it feel? Like you had a big group though, no? When you went.
Yeah, that I think that's why it was slow because we had to convoy. We had to maintain a certain speed so that everyone was in line for safety. But I
Mm,
think it would have been faster if we weren't really just following a certain speed because I was averaging what 15 to 20 kph.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not fast. That's not fast.
not at all. It was very. In fact, a lot of the time I wasn't even using the motor. I was pedaling.
I
So
think
that
that's
was quite. Yeah.
I think that's the nice thing, no, with the e-bike kay murag kanang I guess it seems like you're commenting a lot on how you're actually doing something also. Like it feels like
That's
you're
the
doing
biggest thing
something.
about the e-bike. You can't do that with an e-scooter. You can't just suddenly not push the throttle and start kicking on your feet because it doesn't work that way. It's just different with the e-bike. I like the pedaling experience. And it's getting better, huh? Because before, when I would go up to Busai, it was like 100% throttle. Now there are parts na if it's not too steep, I would actually just do pedal power, no motor. So I would turn it
Mm.
off and I would just pedal. And it's like, I would look back, I would say, 1 week ago, I could not do this.
Oh
And
yeah.
it is such a fulfilling experience because it's really about doing things that I thought I could not do before. And it's the same with what I'm doing in fitness right now. A friend asked me, why are you working out? And I said, I work out because I want to do things that I couldn't do before. Before I couldn't do 10 push-ups. Now I could do 100 push-ups. So it's about doing things I can do now.
I'm more curious why your friend asked you why you work out. Like I
Oh,
feel
because
like I feel
no,
like
because
everybody should be doing some sort of exercise.
he was asking about what was my motivation,
Ah, okay.
why I do it. Yeah. So that was my reason. And with e-bike, it's like that. And to be honest, you were mentioning kanina that there are people who are e-bike haters now. I
Mm,
experienced one in a Facebook group. So how it
really?
went was, yeah, I won't mention the group lang, but how it went was like I was asking people who are commuting from city to Busai, does it get easier? And then I added a disclaimer, hehe, somewhat cheating ko, I'm using an e-bike. And then somebody said in the comment, di ka mo asenso. And it's like I said, yeah, but I'm using pedal assist. And he said, even though, digit ka mo asenso. And you know what? It kind of hurt me because it's like, so that mean I'll never progress akong cycling? And I had that belief for a few days. And then a few days ago, I realized na I could go up without using the motor. And even if it was just for short spurts of time, it was something I couldn't do before, but now I'm able to do. So really, for those who are thinking about getting an e-bike, I would say there is progress available for e-bike users. It's not just limited to people na who are using non-e-bikes.
Yeah, I think it a lot depends on your the fitness base that you started with, no? Okay, I actually think it doesn't Murshag like this. Let's say you put me on an e-bike and
Mhm.
then I can pretty confidently say that I can go up Busai fairly easily. Kadang murag,
Mhm.
just it's something I can do routinely, no?
Yeah.
But if you put me up an e-bike, that just means I get to go further up there. Maybe I can reach Balamban easier na, no?
Yeah.
And and then I'll probably come back home with the same amount of exercise as I did on a regular bike, no?
But
It's
greater
just that,
distance.
yeah, greater distance. So you could look at it that way, no? Let's say when you started out, let's say you were using a regular bike
Mhm.
and then you went up Busai. Maybe the first time you do it, you only reach Marco Polo, right?
Yeah.
And then you go down and then you're done. Uh, with an e-bike, that's maybe Willis, maybe Buak, but you're gonna get
Yeah,
the same exercise. I mean, as long as you don't throttle it, no, I guess.
yeah, yeah.
No, as long as you do the pedal assist, because I've tried using the pedal assist e-bike, and you can put it at a level where it's definitely helping you, but you are also definitely pushing the bike up the hill with your legs,
And
diba?
let me just say, when it comes to pedal assist, I mean, if you're planning to get an e-bike, don't expect the device to do all the work for you. The e-bike was not designed so that it will just throttle all the way. They were really designed for pedal assist. That's why the motor hubs are only at 500 watt or 500 watt pretty strong now at 750 watt. But you can get even more powerful motors, but they don't do that because if you want a powerful motor, then you get a motorcycle. You
Yeah.
get an
Well,
electric motorcycle.
but 500 watts is a lot, huh? That's like like a Tour de France cyclist can do 400 watts over an hour. So
Right.
that's also a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
I
it's
mean,
a
just to
powerful motor, yeah. But I mean, my experience Mang good with this kind of e-bike ba is like I tried e-scooter and e-bike. And e-scooter
Mhm.
is really designed because it's dual hub. It means it has two motors, front and rear. And some of these motors are like 1000 watt, 1000 watts, so that's 2000 watts. So they're designed to really get you from one place to another regardless of the steepness. With the e-bike, it's like when I start to go steeper hills, I can already feel the resistance. I can feel the bike slowing down, not maintaining the velocity that it had on a flat road. So that's when I realized that the e-bike wasn't designed to be a motorcycle. It's really designed to be a pedal assisted device. So
Mm.
you have to do pedal assist, and that's the way that's gonna make it fun.
Yeah, come to think of it, so you're right that because also if you put the power in full, what is it? How many like your e-bike? How many notches of power does it have? Like zero for zero, and yet one to
1 to 5 lang.
1 to 5. If you put
Yeah.
it to 5 all the time, that battery is gonna run out pretty quick, diba? Like, do you know how
Yeah.
long?
If I'm just on paper, it says that if I'm running on a flat surface and I'm just using throttle all the way, it can run me around 35 kilometers.
35 kilometers. Okay,
Yeah.
that's actually not very far, diba?
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it. So it really, you're right. So it really it doesn't require, but you are kanang it wants you to
Encourage.
pedal. Yeah, you are
Yeah.
encouraged to pedal.
Yeah. Because
So
if you talk about the pedal assist range, no, I can cover a good 90 kilometers on that battery.
for like level 1, and yeah, you're pedaling.
Pedaling slowly, yes.
Mm.
Actually, pedaling whatever. Basta mo pedal
Yeah,
assist na po level 1. Yeah, 90 kilometers.
regular unsa ni.
No, but actually,
Actually,
no.
no.
I think I can reach 100 kilometers. That's why we were talking about doing a 100 kilometer ride. Because I
Oh
think on
yeah.
a full charge, I can do 100 kilometers on it.
What's gonna what so let's talk about that. Let's say you do 100
Yeah.
kilometers on a full charge. Uh so that means you have to regulate also the power output, right?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I would turn it off sometimes when terrain is better or something like that.
Well, if you do the 100, most likely, let's say from Cebu, you're probably going to go to Katmon and then turn around somewhere there and come back to Cebu. That's mostly flat. There's some sections where it's a little hilly, but it's mostly flat. So, uh I'm going to assume you like put it in level 1 so that it can, you can take up the battery doesn't run out right away. How fast can you go at that? Have you tried that out, or this is where you want to figure that out pa?
Long ride fast.
Yeah.
I would average at around 28 to 30 kph at level 1 PAS.
Okay, that's fast. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you let's say 30369, so about let's say 3 hours and a half on the saddle to do 100
Mhm.
kilometers. No? So actually that's a challenge also in itself. Have you ever sat down on a bike that long?
No, the longest is probably 1 hour.
Oh, 'di ba?
Yeah,
So
so I
clearly
think I'll need to have practice, riding longer and longer.
Yeah, I actually I'm trying to think back to what you said katong like that guy mentioned nga dili ka maasenso. And I am now, after talking to you, more and more on the side of, I actually think, I mean, if you really want to get better ba, if your goal is to start at a at a, let's say, like a zero fitness in terms of cycling, and then you want to get to really good really quickly,
Mhm.
in many ways, in the beginning it would be easier and faster to use an e-bike, because like a lot of the problems, if you get a regular bike and then you're just learning, right?
Yeah.
And what I feel the mistake is for most people is they attack a hill right away, diba?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, diba?
That
And
was me
then
10 years ago.
yeah, and then you get number one, you get frustrated,
Discouraged.
discouraged, and also, let's say you aren't discouraged, you're still willing to push your way there. You're climbing up, you climb 50 meters, you stop, you rest, you sit down on the ground, you're panting. And then that's minutes and ultimately maybe hours that you are quote unquote biking, but not really biking because
Doing, yeah.
you're sitting on the curb. So like what I tell like people who are new to cycling, you're probably better off just doing a flat route, you know, in the beginning, like pretty much all the time. Because if you have an hour to bike and you're doing a flat route, that means you're actually spinning your legs for an hour.
Hmm.
If you have an hour to bike and you do a climb and you don't know or you don't have the fitness to go up the climb, 5 to 10 minutes into the climb, you're stopping, and you're
Yeah.
probably stopping for another 5 to 10 minutes. So that's 20 minutes. Then you try to
Yeah.
go back up again. And 10 minutes later, you stop again. So it's actually less time on the bike na no. And then
Like,
if you
and
have
more time resting.
yeah, and if you have an electric bike and you don't throttle it, you can actually just keep going and you're pedaling the
Yeah.
whole time.
And when
Diba?
you
So
stop
it's
and when you
different.
feel tired, you just use the throttle, and but you're still pedaling. And I think I
Oh, yeah.
also learned about riding an e-bike. I think that compared to when I started 10 years ago, I did I tell you 10 years ago I had a folding bike. I have a
Okay.
folding bike, which I only used like 2 or 3 times and I stopped using completely. I found that I was doing a lot of bad technique. I realized I was doing a lot of bad technique when I was cycling, like how I centered my weight or how my arms were positioned or the pedaling. There were things that I was doing wrong in my old bike, which I started learning because I'm watching YouTube videos on how to bike properly. And I'm learning to apply these techniques in my e-bike because I'm not so focused on trying to climb the hill, but rather I'm focused if I'm doing it right. So doing the right technique rather than just getting it done.
Mm. I'm curious, what technique are you so
Like for example, braking. You know how it
okay.
is when you're braking going down a downhill. Before, what I would do was I would just press all the brakes all together. Then I learned in YouTube that there's such thing as you have to push your body back a little bit. You
Mm.
make your center of gravity lower to the rear side, and then you pull back a little bit with your arms, and then you slowly brake. Things like that. And then also for climbing, it's like before I would just try to throw my body up like that, just trying to get the climb done. And it was a very poorly executed climb. And eventually I just gave up. But now with the e bike, it's like I have the proper posture of my body and leaning forward slightly just to improve the climb. So things like that I couldn't do without an e bike.
Like putting your weight forward, you mean, and not just so
Yeah.
that the front wheel doesn't lift up if it gets too steep,
Yeah. Things
things
like
like
that.
that. Mm. Yes, yeah, no. So that's something. Yeah, so what I'm also curious about, that since now you are really you've been using the e-bike. So how far up have you gone up in Busai?
Not
Let's
very
not tell people
far.
where you. Let's not tell people where you live, no. Pero, you know,
I almost reached Temple of Leon from the main highway na entrance. I almost reached that part. That was yesterday. And I decided to turn back because I realized na the sun is already setting and my birds had not yet eaten their,
mm,
dinner. So I had to go back na lang. But I knew I could go up a bit further. And interestingly, my battery was already weak na that time. I was like running at 40% battery na lang.
mm. Wait,
So
what part? What part? So you turned towards Temple of Lea already, towards Babag, going up, or not yet?
I
You didn't
almost
reach that
went
part
there.
yet.
I couldn't
Ah,
reach
okay.
there pa. I just decided na yeah, I'm just gonna turn back.
Mm. Yeah, but like that climb is hard, huh?
It is. It is. I mean,
Yeah.
not because I know it, but because I saw the other people struggling to get up on it. So I knew it was hard.
Nah, so I'm curious. So you have a folding bike.
Yeah, I
You
do. It's
you have no plans on. I'm just wondering if you using the e-bike will encourage you to one day like use a regular bike, like a
yes,
sorry, not regular, like a non-electronic bike.
yes. Probably I would. I wouldn't get a road bike, but I probably would get a hybrid.
Hmm, like a
Yeah,
hybrid.
yeah. It would encourage me to do that someday. But for now, I'm just really comfortable with my e-bike. Not just because it's an e-bike, but because everything about it is just so comfortable. The fat tires for me, I used to think like, oh, fat tires look cool, but I realized na it's not just looking cool. It's really functional. Again, going through any terrain without any fear, that's really a big deal for me.
Ah, yeah, but you're preaching to the choir here. Like I run, well, not the biggest tires, but definitely not the. I run
Not
like
the
big
thinner
tires,
tires.
not the thin
Yeah.
tires. Like the biggest, for me, the biggest difference is you can go off road good, and then I'm the type now, like I'll go on a road and then I see a little dirt road on the side. I'm like, oh, what's over there? Let's check that place out. And if I was just running full on kind of thin road tires, murag, I won't be able to do that.
But you know
No?
what's the most interesting motivation for me to ride a bike? It's not even the actual biking itself.
What man?
I wanted to learn to ride a bike because I wanted my bird, my parrot, to ride with me so that we can go to Ayala Heights and fly there.
Mm. So
So that's what I'm training for.
yeah, but yeah, I think I told you, right? Like kanang I told you that I saw this guy in Manipis go. He had a bicycle. He was in the top already. I didn't see
Uh-huh.
him bike, unfortunately. I just remember him like just standing there. He had a bike, and then on his shoulder was a small bird. I'm not a bird person, but I don't know what it was. Good, pero like a little tiny looking, colorful bird on his shoulder. And I was like, I was going downhill naman good, so it's not like I could take
Uh,
a picture
a
or anything.
photo.
I just took a mental note. Gotta tell John about this guy, you know.
So basically,
No.
that's what I want to do. I want my birds to ride with me, because going up and back and forth to Ayala Heights in a car costs a lot of gas. It's a waste of money. So I decided na I'm going to do that, going to Ayala Heights every now and then, but on a bike with my bird on my shoulder. So I can fly them there. I cannot fly them here in our subdivision because there are too many blind spots and they have a hard time finding me when they need to fly back. But in Ayala Heights, it's just like sprawling, wide open. So even if they fly very far, they can enjoy the sky. And then if I call them, they can just easily see me. So that's what I want to do here. I want to ride up to Ayala Heights.
So, but you have to practice first. You have to go up there first by yourself, right?
Yes, that's the goal. I want to be more confident climbing up.
Why? You can do it. It's all you need is time,
Yeah, yeah. I
right?
mean, just really bad weather lately with the rain and all. It's not safe
Oh
to
yeah, yeah,
ride
yeah.
right
That's
now.
true.
Yeah.
But I went out. I went out this morning, and my goal was, to go pretty far up. and then right before I reached Willis, the rain just poured like crazy.
Downpour. Let me ask you
Yeah.
something. How do you check the weather online?
Weather app. I don't know. I have an app here on my phone.
Let me
Whatever
tell you,
weather app.
sige, if
Go.
this was a
What do you
mastermind, this
prefer?
is my cool new thing. So there's this app my brother shared to me. It's called Foreca.
Foreca.
Yeah.
Okay.
So although it's the same as the weather app that it shows you how many percent chance precipitation, there's a part of it. There's a tab in that app that is very interesting called Map, and what shows you is the amount of clouds it has over a
Mm.
particular section of the island. And you know what? I tested it, and it was so specific because it showed in the our map na at 10 a.m. today, the rain would stop. There would be clear sky, and it would start raining again at 11 a.m. I was like, maybe this app is not so accurate. And I'm here in Busai. I can see the city, the clouds over the city, and how it's raining and everything. And exactly at 10 a.m., or not really exactly, mga 10:05 a.m., no more rain. And
Oh,
then it
ba?
did not rain again until around 11:15 a.m. It's like, shoot, I should have taken that window of opportunity to ride. Because I was thinking of going up again. But yeah, so that proved to me though that the app was very effective. You should check it out, Foreca.
Yeah. Somebody look. Somebody commented. Foreca #1.
Ah, yeah, so Michael. So, the guys who are commenting here are actually mga Cebu Scoteros. So I'll just
Oh
shout
yeah.
out na lang kayo.
Do
They're
it,
asking for
man.
it. Shout out to Mark, Brian, Tags, and si Michael is from Lapu-Lapu.
What's the name of the group?
Cebu Scoteros.
Can you what does the group do?
And well, we are advocating alternative transport through electric scooters, and not just advocating the transport, but also advocating the responsible use of e-scooters. Because if somebody makes a mistake, it affects the entire community. We don't
Mm.
want e-scooters to be banned. We want to educate people to become better riders. So one of our golden rules is never ride without a helmet. It's for the safety of the rider. And the second thing is always follow all traffic road rules. Do not treat yourself like, immune to any of the traffic rules. So when as little as, crossing the pedestrian lane, we never cross it while riding our scooters. We have to dismount the scooter and then cross the pedestrian lane.
Do you guys have it written down or something?
We have a written list of rules in our group, but we want to make it more official. So our community is actually coordinating with Cebu City to create regulations to help people who are getting into this alternative transport. This is really just the goal for inclusive mobility for all.
You know the it's good that that you guys are talking also to Cebu City kay like there's another group kanang Baktas Tindak Society Plus, like they've also been talking to Cebu City, and then they've been pushing like the bike lanes.
Bike lanes.
And yeah, I mean we say bike lanes and it sounds like it's just for bikes, but really it's for all sorts of
It's for
alternative
all
transport.
yeah.
Yeah,
Scooters,
and
even those manual kick scooters. Khalil uses that, di ba? The
it
kick
does.
scooter with yeah, he has a manual kick scooter. Doesn't not really for electric. Or there are people. Do you know that there's now a group of the electric unicyclists,
Oh
EUCs?
ba?
No,
Really?
no. One of my friends is one of the advocates and the first person, the first Cebuano to use it. Si Roy, he's actually using it for his daily commute.
Hmm. Yeah, and then it's so frustrating to me by up until now. Number one, okay. Number one, there's so many people now using all of these alternative forms of commute. Obviously, primarily bicycles, but as we've already talked about, e-scooters, regular scooters, unicycles, Mandesa, even these skateboarders, they
Mm-hmm.
all need a place on the road. And I mean, that's them. And yeah, we're not even talking about pedestrians. Because the pedestrian to me is the most important. No,
Yeah,
um, and it's like I don't know what it is. I don't know why. But so far nothing has been done, at least to the eyes
done.
of the public. no? If you look at Mandawi or Talisay, I mean, some people joke na all they did was put paint on the
But at
road, but
least they did something.
kana like like, and then it seems like them doing something. It also shows that this is in their radar, and hopefully next year once they put up a budget or whatever, hopefully it becomes part of the budget and it becomes a real kanang like a real project that they can make better somehow, no? And it's frustrating to see that until now here in Cebu City, wala pa gihapon.
But in
I'm
fairness, ha, I mean,
mm,
talking about government, there is a counselor, si Joel Garganera, who's a strong advocate of inclusive mobility. Although, mismo from the Cebu City Mayor's office, wala pag actual action, but Konsehal Joel has been actively bringing up these conversations. And he himself is an e-scooter rider. So he's the one saying, "Oh, these roads need to be safer. We need to share the roads with the
mm.
alternative transport." Because it's the future of Cebu. We really cannot see a Cebu with lesser traffic if we're just continuing to support increase of cars, increase of four-wheel vehicles.
Yeah, and so I wonder what it is. I wonder why kanang there hasn't been movement yet on that end. It's I mean, we can speculate, no, but if we speculate, we're just adding fake news to the conversation.
True.
But the truth is, it doesn't seem like anything's being done just yet. No,
I guess on our
somebody.
part,
Mm,
what we can
go
do is
go.
just continue making the conversation, continue making noise, because it eventually the city's got no choice but to listen. If the clamor is from the people, they really have no choice but to follow.
Yeah, what I'm worried about is I'm worried nga we went kanang I'm worried that nothing happens and we get back to a sense of normalcy, like a sense of what it was before, and people are just going to go back to what they were doing before. Like that's why, in a way, actually, that's why I'm frustrated because now that people are using alternative forms of transport, now is the time on that to make the infrastructure better, just so that once everything goes back to normal, it can still encourage these people to continue using those alternative forms of transport. Like right now, like for me, for example, let's say me, if the coronavirus was gone tomorrow and then the lockdown was over and everything was back to normal, I'm still going to be on a bike, right? But what about the person who just discovered the how this alternative form of commute, and what about the person who's on the fence, but like they're doing it because they have no choice, and then later on the regular forms of transportation is back, and maybe they'll bitch about it, but they have no choice. They'll still use a jeepney or whatever just to go 2 kilometers down the road. You know, kana ba? So I'm that's where it's frustrating for me. Nga. Once we go back to normal and nothing's done, you're missing out on
Then
this opportunity to really
yeah, we
change
missed
the
out on the
city.
opportunity. I think as
Yeah.
well na there I think right now is also the best time to gather data to show how many people are riding on their bikes, and that data should be thrown at the city, and they have absolutely no excuse to make about people not using alternative transport, because it's all about also presenting data. If you have all the numbers, there's really no excuse for the city to say no, we don't really need to make a bike lane or whatever. No, another wish list for me is not just the safer roads now. A big wish list for me is a mandate for big establishments like malls to provide a covered and secured bike parking area, because one of my biggest anxieties as a bike commuter is that I don't feel safe with my bike parked outside, even if it's chained.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the malls, the private establishments have moved faster than, well, obviously, than government in that regard. No, it might still be outside, right? I might not be shaded, but there's definitely a lot more bike parking than there was a few months ago.
They had
And
to. They really had
oh
to.
yeah,
It
again,
wasn't because they wanted to. They just had to. But I hope it evolves. I really hope it evolves,
yeah.
because I've talked to some bike community. I actually opened up in a Facebook group about my concerns as well, and they said the same thing. Na they don't feel safe parking their bike outside, exposed to the public, because some crazy person decides to scratch it, or naisuya on who just decide to pop your tires, diba? As opposed to in a setting where it's being watched over by a guard, and it's in a covered area. So these are
Mm,
things na wish list lang siguro. I hope one day the mall establishments will consider that. I mean, think about it. If you charge me like 5 pesos to pay for parking my bike in a covered place, I would pay that. And I'm sure you would be able to park more bikes than you would cars.
oh yeah, for sure. More people definitely. But Mona, I think what I've seen, it seems like the malls are actually heading in the right
In that
direction.
direction. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think there was news today, gani like SM. I'm just a headline reader by SM did something where they're making all their, like, it's a mandate now to make all their malls more bike friendly.
Oh
No,
wow, that's
uh,
interesting. I
yeah,
know
and
SMC side is bike friendly. They have a covered. You go to the parking kung asang cars, and it's for free, and your bikes can park there secured with a security guard roving. But see, SM City Cebu is their parking is still outside, but there is a guard watching.
yeah. So Mona, it seems like there's a mandate for all SMs. It's not anymore the individual. It's not like a mall manager making a decision to make it better, but like this is coming from the top. Nga, all SMs should be more
Bike friendly.
bike friendly. Yeah, I
Kudos
wanted to
to
point.
SM.
Yeah, and then of course Ayala's been doing the same thing basically, no? Pero
Mm,
I think it's more mall based lang sa Ayala and CFC,
yeah.
not
Okay.
really.
I got gibugaw ko sa Central Block. Oh, name dropping. Gibugaw
What
ko.
happened?
You know that open area like across the walk?
Uh huh.
Yeah, so I got off my bike and I started like strolling it, and then I was trying to call a friend. And then one of those security personnel told me that I'm not supposed to be there with my bike. It's like, ooh, well, I'm not riding around. I'm calling a friend. And then, basta he told me to clear the area. I couldn't be there. I could only be at the road though.
Yeah, I don't. So kana like there's no official kanang mandate
Directive.
from directive on their end pa. Hopefully that
Yeah.
changes.
I hope
I
so. I really
just
do.
I want to point out. I think when we were talking about that guy who I saw in Talisay, somebody mentioned that that was Titing Bird of Team Hagonoy. I don't know if that one will ring a bell to you, but
I don't know if
there.
it's Titing Magbanwa,
I don't know.
Titing Bird of Team Hagonoy. Maybe si Sir Titing Magbanwa. Maybe.
Maybe. Maybe you would know. I'm just pointing it out there. You know.
Someone said here that we are willing to pay a covered and secured parking area for bikes and e-scooters. See, so
For sure.
alternative transport riders are really willing to pay for that parking slot. But don't price it exactly the same as cars. No, I mean it's unfair.
Yeah. No, but like so before the pandemic in Ayala, so
Mm,
they had a bike near Coffee Bean ba, no? So they
mm,
had that bike parking that's outside, that's across. When yeah,
yeah.
normally during the day when I bring my cheap commuter bike, I have no qualms about kanang parking it there. And yeah, one time I had to go to Ayala and it was like for a dinner thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I didn't want to park my bike there. It's dark, There's
Yeah.
nobody there, so I happily paid the parking fee on the basement, not basement, like the that side parking
Yeah,
near
yeah.
Coffee
The
Bean.
side parking near Seda.
Yeah, so even if you have a bike and you go in, they'll let you pay for the parking, even if it's a bike. Yeah, regular the car rate. But
20 pesos.
yeah, I mean, like I was happy to pay, considering that you get the security from it. But yeah, I mean,
But
I can
if you're
it
like
has to
me,
be
like
cheaper.
I'm so insect mong good, Carl. So It's
I
like
mean, I'm just saying.
I really don't want to spend the 20 pesos on parking because I have a daily expense tracker. And at the end of the year, I realized I spend so much thousands on parking. So
Yeah.
for me,
No, I mean,
it's sakit.
no, I hear you. I hear you, John. I'm the guy. I'm like when I used to drive, IT Park before, and
Uh-huh.
like years ago, nga murag dili pa kayo uso ang pay parking, no?
Oh yeah.
And then like bago pa, and then like they would have like those parking guys on the road, and
Uh-huh.
I would be one of those car users nga murag kanang if I see a guy, those parking attendants walking around
Uh-huh.
IT Park, I would I would turn around, wait for them to disappear, park right away, run out of my car, and then go to wherever I was going, a coffee shop that I was going to. And then when I'm going back to my car, I would go to my car, the relative area, and then I would just stand there and then look around till well I parking attendant, and then as soon as they were gone, go in my car right away and then just rush out of there. So I
I
hear
could
you.
never
Like,
do that. I could never do that. But what I would do though is how those other parking areas na may grace period.
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, I set a timer and I would
Oh,
race
for sure.
against that time just to make sure that I'm still within the grace period.
JY. I do that all the time in JY before. 15 minutes without the JY.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but
that's how we really want to save up money, but we're willing to pay as long as it's a practical price. And think about it, one car slot can fit at least 8 to 10 bicycles, diba? So if you say, let's say 10 bicycles at 5 pesos each, that should be 50 pesos. As opposed to a car na isa ra ka buok, which is 20 pesos. Di ba? And you'd have
yeah.
more people pag yun. So that means more foot traffic, more consumption, more revenue.
Yeah. The That's also the same argument you would do for like kanang like on the road. One car space on the road is it takes up a lot of real estate, literally, like a lot of literal space. And if you compare it to a bicycle or a scooter, you can have the say like one car is maybe what, like five bikes. What did you say, eight?
Yeah. I would say
Oh,
8 to 10 because it's a big car slot. It's a big slot. You get one, let's say here, four here, then two or four another here. Or, I'm sure there's a lot of rides that you can do in just one slot.
but I see Jonathan's asking, what's the experience with an e-scooter going? I assume this means going inside the mall.
So there are malls that are okay with e-scooters go inside the malls, like si Robinson's Galleria. One time, si Central Block was e-scooter friendly, but na naman with differences with scooters. There are big scooters that are too huge to stroll around in the mall. So if you have a last miler scooter like Xiaomi, EcoRide, or a Segway, you can bring it in the mall. They wouldn't really care. But if you have a big scooter, let's say like a Kaabo Wolf or a Ultron T108, those are bigger scooters. Well, syempre, the guard's gonna you look like you're bringing a motorcycle inside the mall. So definitely, that's not very accepted.
I wonder if that's probably one of the things also that makes it a little bit more difficult to enforce, no? Like to me, I don't know anything about scooters or e-scooters. Uh they basically all kind of look the same to me, to
Mm-mm.
somebody who's not into the genre, no? So I wonder if that's one of the problems also with kanang enforcing this ba. Like it's hard to give a blanket state. I mean, it's easier to just give a blanket statement than it is to say this kind of scooter pwede but this kind dili, no?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I wouldn't mind not being able to bring my scooter inside the mall as long as it goes back to parking. You give me a safe space that I can park my ride in so that I
Mm.
won't have anxiety about leaving it around.
Yeah, I think it comes down to that, no? Just being able to kind of keep it safe lang good. That's actually
Yeah.
why I use a cheap commuter bike by, no? Kay if it gets stolen, murag,
Dili
it
sakit.
hurts. I mean, it's sakit. It's still, it's
Yeah,
still
it's
my
still a
bike,
bike,
but I can
but
I
it's
can
not.
buy a new
You can
one.
live with it. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not like I have to save up to buy another one, but I can buy one the next day. No.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm curious. Do you have a sense of how many people are using the electric vehicles?
Electric scooters and
Mm.
other, I would estimate about 1,000 people are already using it.
Really?
Estimate lang ha.
Oh wow! It's so like in that I'm blanking. What was the name of the group again?
Sugbus Scuteros.
Sugbo Scoteros. How
Yeah.
many are you guys in? Is that a Facebook group or is that like
It's a
a
Facebook group.
Facebook group? Ah, okay.
Yeah. I think
Would
there are about 500 riders in Subu Scuteros. Not all of them
mm,
are actively chatting, but I know that they have Xiaomi's. So that's 500 there, and then there's probably another 500 all over Cebu province who have e-scooters and they're not really posting about it. And this is not including pa ha, those e-bikes na kanang lead battery na e-bikes.
oh
You know
yeah,
about
there.
those, right? The ones na used in downtown, the ones that the Cebu City has very. You know about those e-bikes, right? The ones
No.
that you see in CDR King.
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They look
Yes.
like motorcycles.
Yes, but they put
Yeah,
pedals so that they're called e-bikes.
that's right. But it's like they, it doesn't make sense to use the pedals at all
Yeah, but there
because
are
they're
several
really quite
hundreds of
heavy.
them using it.
Mm. Yeah, no, I've seen those. Those are actually those are very very kind of very good options for a lot of people. No?
But the in terms of battery, it's not the best kind of battery being used.
Mm.
They're using car batteries, so not very efficient. And according to my brother, the lifespan yeah, is not as good.
Ah, yeah, yeah, but like kanang, they're relatively cheap. They can fit more than one person.
Yeah, but there are other options. Like I have a friend, si Joy Go. He
Mm.
sells these mga electric scooters. They look like Vespas. And they can go pretty fast, 48 kph. And they can ride two people.
Mm.
So there are options like that. They're not e-bikes anymore. They don't have pedals. But they're pretty good. They're pretty strong. And I think, it was so nice if we had cleaner air. And that brings me to the preserving environment part pala. I mean, people
Mm.
are thinking that you're preserving the environment because you're not using gas-powered vehicles. It's more than just that. It's the mentality. I found that the more I was riding outside my car, the more I was concerned about what was going around me. Trash, trees, animals, birds surrounding me. I was more sensitive about that than when I was in my car. So
Mm.
I believe that people, if they step out of their car and got more involved with alternative transports, their mindset will change to fit more about being sensitive about what's going on around them.
But you know that so you know okay, so you know that it's not actually effective if you tell somebody kanang okay, if you say you should do this because the world is better for it. That's
Mm-mm.
actually not effective. Like people are not really going to, it has to benefit them directly. You get what I'm
Yeah, that's
saying?
true.
So like to me, so I remember when I first started bicycle commuting,
Mm-hmm.
the they would say, I say, yeah, yeah, I buy commute. Then the person would be like, oh yeah, that's good for the environment, that's good. But I would always say that's not why I do it. like I did not think about that at all, I'll be honest with you, John. Like in the beginning, I did it because it was a faster way to get from
To
point
that point.
A to point B, and that was the only reason.
But
No.
let me ask you, but you care
Oh,
about
for sure, yeah, yeah.
how the air, right? I mean, no, you care about the air because we're talking about how it benefits you. You care about the air quality, right? You'd rather bike in a place na thinner ang air rather than thick. And then
Yeah,
you
yeah,
care
for sure.
about the tree shade giving you shade, di ba? So
And
eventually,
I
even
hate
if
I
it's not
hate looking at trash on the ground. There's
exactly,
a
so
lot of trash on the ground.
the preservation mindset is now more connected to you, not because you suddenly become an environmentalist, but because it somehow directly affects you.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, I mean, I agree with you nga ever since I started going out on a bicycle more, because you see the world. You see it. It's
Mm-hmm.
so you you s- you see much more of Cebu on a bike or walking or on a scooter than compared to when you're in a car. When you're in a car, you're literally in a bubble. No,
That's true.
when you're out there on a bike or scooter or walking, you see Cebu good, and it is there are certain sections of Cebu that is really disconcerting in that on that point. See, Jonathan had another question, which some people answered, but let's you can put your two
Yeah.
cents in. Cost
Cost wise, I
wise,
think e-bikes
e-scooter,
cost
bike versus
lesser
scooter
than e-bike. Sorry, e-bikes cost less than e-scooters.
in
Mainly
terms of
because pedal action.
cost wise in terms of electricity. You mean?
Yeah.
Oh yes, less because you said it also had a smaller and what's it called? Smaller motor man sad, di ba?
Yeah, mas dako ang motors for bigger e-scooters than
Uh,
e-bikes.
and then with
And
fuel, with gasoline, it's not even a comparison.
also because it's like if you have e-bike, you burn calories. So you save up on gym time. I don't know if
Oh
that
yeah.
makes sense.
No, that's true. You do. Like if you're paying to go in the gym and then you just want to get thin,
Hmm.
if you're commuting, that's a very easy way to do it and you won't have to pay for the gym. The I will tell you though that if you do bike a lot, you will spend more on food. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
that's true. Which is okay for me. I think it's just the natural way of things. At least I'm also not looking for unhealthy food. I find myself looking for more protein sources. I don't look for sugary food as much as I did before.
Yeah. And then like if you compare whatever it is, e-bike, bicycle to gas or to car ownership, it does not compare at all in
Ay,
terms of
layo
cost.
ra. So
Layo.
far. Super far. Like,
Yeah.
we recently had one of our cars did a 40,000 kilometer maintenance.
Mm.
And apparently that's the most expensive sa maintenance gastos, and it's like almost 20,000 just for the whole maintenance works. And
The thing with go.
the 20,000 is one half of the cost of an e-bike,
Yeah,
and that's just for maintenance.
the the thing with the car is that so a lot of people look at the cost of the fuel, 'di ba? So they're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if I my full tank can last whatever, 2 weeks, whatever it is. So they just look at fuel. The the other cost that a lot of people don't take into account is that the more you use your car, the more likely it is that you will have to pay for something that will get broken in the future. So basically
Yeah.
maintenance. Like I've done the same thing by like aircon broke in my car and we're in the
Aircon filter,
Philippines.
freon change, coil
Yeah.
change,
You know,
brake fluids, all those things. Grabe.
yeah.
So
No, but
gastos.
those are the cheap things. The the expensive things are the the compressor, the engine. you
Oh
know,
my god.
Yeah, and it does not compare good. No, I mean you can buy a bike that's like 200,000 pesos, but that's probably not the bike to use for commuting. You want to buy a much cheaper bike or scooter to commute. No, it does not compare at all. That's in fact like when I started commuting, the I mean, I wanted to get from point A to point B faster. And side
Mhm.
effects was I was started becoming more fit. I like the outdoors more. But the other big side effect was it's so much cheaper.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So much. Grubby. So it does not compare. It does not
I
compare
sometimes
at
wonder
all.
though if somehow it would the e-bike being an option, would you get Steph to join into the cycling movement? Would you get her into a two-wheel transport now?
I don't know. Like I've been I mean, like, I'm her husband, so I talk about bikes like every day. I mean, uh, she has pushed back on me a lot on the bicycles. She's
But
biked
what
with me like
I'm curious
more than
because
we
she's
bike.
someone who doesn't want to do it. What's her no? What's her reason why she doesn't want to
Well,
do it?
well, kami also as a family, we have kids, so the van is the most as a
Practical.
family, the van is the most practical. Also with her job, so she works for AXA, so she if pre-pandemic, she was going out and actually meeting a lot of people, which meant, kanang wearing business clothing, whatever it is, looking fresh, that whole thing. Um, so I understand that for her there really are a lot of setbacks or things to discourage her from using it. Um, at least for a commute. But I know there's still a lot of women in particular, who are using a bicycle to commute or just using a bicycle. Period. No. Uh, so I think it really matters on how it fits on your lifestyle. No.
Yeah,
It's very possible that if I had Steph's job, I wouldn't be able to use my bicycle as well. No.
true.
Diba?
But speaking of women, that's actually one of the reasons why e-scooting became more popular, because there are a lot of women who do not want to ride a bicycle, but they still are okay with a two-wheel ride. So they opted instead for an e-scooter instead of
Mm.
getting a bicycle. In fact, my first e-scooter, I actually sold it during the early days of the lockdown. I sold it to a nurse because she could not walk back and forth from her home to the hospital, and she needed a transport, and there were no public transport. So she, instead of getting a bicycle, she opted for the e-scooter, and for her it's just so convenient, and she doesn't exert a lot of effort riding back and forth from work to home.
Yeah, actually, even with the bicycles, there's really a lot of women now. I notice it's great. Like, kanang, it's really good to see more women using these alternative forms of transportation. Kay, it a lot of times it really does seem like katong in the beginning, especially like katong wala pa pandemic, wala pa lockdown. It really seemed like a male dominated, at least for
That's
bicycles. I don't
true.
know about e-scooters. No?
That's true.
Kanang
Actually, even sa e-scooters.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
recently
so
lang na there are more females who are riding on the alternative transports.
yeah, and we want to keep them riding. We don't want to
Yeah.
we don't want to discourage them from doing it. We got to make this yeah, I'm so frustrated. I I I I one time Sunstar put up this something on like how would you improve public transportation? Yeah. I actually didn't really answer the question because I just said you can improve public transportation by kanang uh kanang by making our roads not so bloated anymore, by letting less people use kanang the cars and letting them use these kanang last mile forms of transportation ba. And then there's
Hmm.
this one lady, she commented and she's like, yeah, I agree. And yeah, kanang she's like, yeah, if other cities can do it, why can't we? And then I said, yeah, like look at Singapore, we have the same weather as Singapore, and people do all of those things there. And she's like, that she replied, bro, lahi sa nag-level ang Singapore, sir. Oy. but, but, but the truth is, you know, why not? Like they were not the Singapore
They
before.
were
They were just
poor. They,
yeah, they were just some regular ass country
they
with
had very
the right
little resources that time. And in terms of riding weather, mas alimuot ang Singapore compared to Cebu. It was super, I sweat a lot in Singapore.
yeah. So like it's just gonna people at least like so like the weather you can't change, but the
Mm-mm.
city we can
You
change the
can.
city. Ah,
You can plant more trees. You can make safer sidewalks. You can do these things.
more like I get frustrated when you hear people saying I'm work. You can't do that. Kay lisod. Of course it's lisod. Of course it's hard.
Mm.
Diba?
But you can.
Yeah, but it's possible. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. John, we've been talking for about an hour now, by
Wow. Hour and a half actually.
yeah, an hour and a half. Thank you for coming to the show. Is there anything that you might have wanted to talk about that we missed?
Well, I covered mostly on alternative transport. I think for those who are watching this, I just hope that you guys continue to be the voice of inclusive mobility, because you can't just rely on influencers and community leaders. The people have to be the voice for inclusive mobility. And another thing is that I hope that everyone also who are advocates of alternative mobility will be um, advocates of nature as well, considering that Cebu is home to the world's rarest tree and world's rarest bird. So you
What's
didn't
the
know
world's
that?
what's the world's rarest tree and bird?
Cebu cinnamon tree found in the mountains, sa Busay. And I'm not going to mention exactly which part for the safety of the tree. And the Cebu flower pecker, also in the same area. Again, for safety, I cannot mention the specific location.
Wow, okay. See, by going back to what I said in the beginning of the episode, like some weird fact that that I probably will not find useful in the future. But yeah, I might actually Google that and see if that's if I can reach that area.
Yeah.
Bye. So thanks again for doing the podcast. Where can people find you online?
Oh, well, you can find me in my page, Birds of Cebu. I have a YouTube channel. And you can also find me in my other YouTube account, The Crazy Juan, which I hope to be posting my bike adventures and bike reviews in the future. I'll probably ask you to guest there, Carlo.
Yeah,
We'll
bye.
probably
We'll
do a
do.
podcast for that.
No, we'll do like a collab episode. Like a collab video. We'll do
I
like
want to do professional cyclists versus
versus
newbie
electric
electric
bike.
bike.
And not first to 21-kilometer cafe. You'll you'll get there an hour early, and I'll just ask you to order my coffee and keep it warm.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
But thanks, Carl. Thanks. I enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I hope to have you back.
Maybe someday and a different topic by then.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, man. I'll end the broadcast.
All right.